Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. This is the Roaming Prepper, and it is the Tuesday Talk Show. I will be your host for the evening, and I will hopefully be able to enlighten you a little bit. Now, I'm going to do something different today that I have not done in the past, in that I will be streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram all at one time. And that will either go very cool or it'll be a disaster. Depends on how you're going to look at it. So I have multiple cameras, actually. Fortunately, the software didn't play well today. So I have a couple of cameras looking at me today. In any case, first things first, safety topic. We've got tropical storms out on the East Coast. For those of you who do not know what to do, you can go to my YouTube channel, you can go to my Instagram, and you can just YouTube preparedness, specifically hurricanes. There tend to be rushes on water, there tends to be rushes on food, and it's the stuff we get every day. So before it gets ugly, go get some. Right now, I probably a little too late because the panic set in and they're probably getting rained on right now. In any case, your safety topic, again, don't wait till the last minute. Get whatever you need now for a storm. And more importantly, do not drive in high water. If you cannot see the road, there's a good chance you're going to get swept off of it if you're not careful. So that's my pointer for today. We're going to start with the first topic is we're actually going to talk about oil prices. So I'm going to share a screen for those of you who are on Facebook or YouTube. Sorry, Instagram. I can't share that with you guys. But we're going to start with oil prices hit highest level in 6 years after the OPEC talks fail. So I had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Being an energy sector guy, I kind of pay attention to it. And everyone was thinking that OPEC plus, which includes Russia and Venezuela, not just Saudi and Syria and all those countries, was going to kind of come to an agreement on what production to put so that the prices would not spike and really screw up the rest of the market. Unfortunately, they did not come to an agreement. So West Texas Intermediate Future, US benchmark, went to 76.98 early Tuesday. Actually, it's down to about 75 now, unless it went back up. So that's the highest level since 2018. Now, once you just logistically speaking, once you start getting into those oil prices that go into the 80s, 90s, yeah, the energy sector is quite happy about it, but then it affects everything else, right? It's too much. So then the cost of goods, anything that has to get trucked, diesel, airline tickets, they're all going to get expensive. So there's a point where this is a bad thing. The jump in oil prices comes as demand is returning rapidly to the U.S. and other major economic powers. Not a surprise there. The countries were meeting to strike a deal to increase output, but they abandoned the talks Monday after the UAE refused to agree. It's unclear when the talks will continue. The Biden administration is hoping to see the oil cartel reach a deal to boost output and slow down the rise of gas prices. This is going to affect the cost of goods for all of us. Now, I've said in my previous YouTube videos and some of my Instagram postings, you want to try to control your personal supply chain. Well, this is something kind of hard to control. You really can't control the price of oil and gas. It becomes problematic to do so. So, it's just unless you have some way to store the stuff, it becomes difficult. So make sure that keep your tanks full. If you can take advantage personally of things like Kroger points or, the points you shop in a grocery store and you get a discount on your gas, do that. Take that angle and try to manage your own personal supply chain as best as you can. If you have a more efficient vehicle in the house, you may want to park the pickup and drive the Honda or whatever, at least for the time being, until you can we can get some stability in it. Without a boost in OPEC production, analysts expect prices could continue to rise as demand improves. Now, this is assuming you will not have a second COVID or third COVID shutdown. On the East Coast of the U.S., there are talking about it. There's a lot of moving parts. But again, take advantage of more economic vehicles, take advantage of any savings you can use. If you can get gas at Sam's Club, or Costco or some other club type gasoline as opposed to name brand stuff, save yourself 30 cents a gallon. That adds up to $5-6 at the end of a tank, depending on how big your vehicle is. So that's something everyone needs to pay attention to. So we're going to stop that screen. So again, pay attention to those prices. We're going to talk about something related to this that is affecting things. While we're dealing with this increase in gas prices, we're also starting to struggle with what is essentially a problem. Oh, sorry about that, folks. Having a technical issue on the side here. There we go. We're also having, we're coming up on the end of the rental moratorium. Now, once that hits, people are eligible who have not been evicted, can be evicted at that point. That's supposed to happen at the end of July. So July 31st is when the eviction moratorium will formally end. Now, according to this, about 14% of the 7.6 million FHA mortgages outstanding were delinquent as of May. That's a pretty large number. Additionally, 10.5% of the loans were seriously delinquent. So for those of you on YouTube, I'm going to share this article as well so you guys can take a peek. These figures include loans that are in forbearance. So if you got in trouble financially during the Rona, what you had an option to do was do a forbearance, where in other words, you don't pay mortgage for 6 months and you either have to add it piece by piece to future payments, or they take that 6 months, put it at the other end of your loan. You'd still pay it, but it would be later. But some folks weren't able to get their footing back. And as a result, we have a lot of houses that had gone into forbearance, and now they're coming to where something's due. Hey, Gray Man, it's good to see you. So this is going to be a problem. We're talking millions of homes. Now, this article on Market Watch also indicates that, for instance, in Atlanta, almost 20% of home loans are in delinquency. That's going to be a major problem going forward. These metro areas are getting hit. Dallas, Plano, Irving in Texas, which is a really well-known, very good market for housing. It's always been robust. 15.8% of loans are in some kind of delinquency. Now, this, from a preparedness standpoint, this is going to be a problem for a lot of people, not just a personal and economic issue. You're going to start seeing, we're already seeing a lot of homelessness due to people getting drug addicted, not getting treatment during the 19 times. We're now going to see folks straight up just getting evicted, getting kicked out. This is causing a lot of hurt to a lot of folks. But then to add to it, on the other side of that, the landlords, so the majority of homes, the majority, I believe it's 70% of private rental homes are owned by private investors, people like ourselves who save up some money and they purchase a home. Well, the moratorium has given a break to the renters, but now the landlords are behind. So they're starting to sell their houses at a loss just to get out of them because they're on the hook for a payment. So now we're seeing it from both sides. You're seeing it from the homeowner side, but also the renter, landlord, if you will, is desperate to get rid of the renters because they're behind on their payments and they'll lose the property or they have to sell it. The majority of the nation's landlords or individual investors, they own about 23 million units in 17 million properties, according to the US Census. More than 6 million renter households are behind on rent. So let's think about that for a second. You got 17 million properties, or 23 million, 6 million of that is in delinquency of some type. So the landlord's on the hook. That's a huge number, folks. I mean, you think about it, that's almost 25% of rental units are in some kind of danger of delinquency. This is going to become very dangerous for them. And plus, you're going to start saying, hey, Heroic, how you doing? I got, just for those of you who came in late, I've got YouTube and Facebook on one screen and Instagram on the other. So if you see me looking back and forth, I'm doing live on 3 different platforms at once. I'm getting my engineer on, I guess. I don't know. But the, again, 24, 25% of rental units are right now in some kind of delinquency in the nation, according to this stat. So this is going to be a problem, both from a preparedness standpoint, especially if you're one of the people about to be evicted. Where do you go? Also, if you own a home, will this increase the likelihood of crime in your area? Will you be exposed to theft? Will you be exposed to some other problem? It's interesting. My wife actually did a recent one of her term papers, her white paper, was on the effect of uncontrolled homelessness on property ownership, the property values, and also the crime. And she was pretty involved little paper. Essentially, you're introducing more folks who are going to be in a desperation state to the streets, and they may not have somewhere to go. So, and we've all seen that the food banks are also struggling because nobody can donate because they're all in a bind. So it's almost like a domino effect right now. And that's kind of that's something to be aware of on both ends. One, if you're in danger of losing your home, you may have to rely on your preps, on your stored food to kind of reduce your day-to-day bills. So this is important. If you're in one of those positions, try to reduce your day-to-day bill, day-to-day costs, anything going out of your family pocketbook, so to say. Make sure you're minimizing costs everywhere you can. And again, that will come from purchasing in bulk, buying in advance, storing, and using your long-term storage. This would be could be an SHTF for people personally, so take advantage of that. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of this going forward. You're going to be seeing evictions. You're going to be seeing people winding up on the streets. You're also at the same time going to see the cost of goods go up. So again, manage your personal supply chains, manage your personal budgets as best as you can. Again, this isn't the end of the world, aliens invading. This is more a heads up. This is around the corner. This is a potential outcome. So position yourself to take the least hit where possible. And, hopefully that will help you going forward, so you don't wind up in a situation where you're out on the street. Your belongings are out there. You can't really prep if you're homeless. So now you have a problem. I would also, if you can, take advantage of friends and family if other people are in the same boat, but together you can split a housing unit without getting into trouble with the HOA, or you can rent a relative's room. Talk to relatives, try and leverage those connections. Something I learned in business is personal relationships and professional relationships are very important. Take advantage of that. If someone is willing to formally rent you, even if you're signing a little lease for a month, just to give you some wiggle room, do that. See what you can get away with, guys. A lot of folks are going to start seeing some trouble here, and we'd like to not see that happen if possible. But don't wait till the last minute. Try to, if you see yourself starting to get in trouble, by all means, position yourself to where you take the least hit possible. So, next topic is going to be interesting. China and Japan. And this one I did not expect. And a few of us pointed it out before. Hold on a second here while I argue with this thing. So essentially, China has, or Japan has stated openly that they wish to, or they believe that it is in their best interest and in their national security to defend Taiwan alongside the United States if China tries to take the island. That's a complication for China. So Japan has been slowly building its defense force to where it's a sizable military force, both naval and the Air Force. I don't think they can field ground troops the way they did in World War II, but they have a very technologically savvy and very well trained defense force. And they stated openly that they believe that any act against Taiwan will be an existential danger to Japan. And those are very strong words for the Japanese to use. Previously, the Japanese, about a week ago, and I reported on it, there were several people who did, the Japanese had stated that they felt that the United States was in danger of an imminent surprise attack. They compared it to a Pearl Harbor of the modern age. And the stipulation was that it would not just be China, but Russia as well. They would work together. And we've been seeing a lot of that joint training in the Pacific. We had the Russian fleet 50 miles out of Pearl Harbor doing dry runs of whatever attack they were planning or not planning. We've had the Chinese harassing shipping. We've had the Russians in the Black Sea with the American destroyers. There's been a lot of tension. Neither one would take us on individually, but together they may. There's speculation the best way to do that is to do some kind of hack and discombobulate the U.S. for a couple of days or a week so they can do whatever it is they're trying to do while we're distracted. In any case, China, in response, said we will never allow military intervention over Taiwan. And Beijing said China had said it will never allow any country to intervene militarily in the Taiwan Strait conflict. One day after Japan's deputy prime minister posited a collective defense of the self-ruled island by Japanese and United States forces. So, and Japan and China have a very bad history with each other. So, but this is the first time in a very long time I've heard Japan openly state they're going to go and defend someone else outside of their island territorial waters. So this is a very strong statement on behalf of Japan. As Zhao said, China deplores and firmly opposes the gentleman from Japan, and has filed a diplomatic complaint with Japan. This is the third such protest in the space of 4 weeks, following separate incidents in June involving Suga and the deputy Japanese defense minister. So a lot of tension there, and this is now the first foreign country outside of Australia and Britain who've openly said, if Japan makes a jump at Taiwan, we're in. We're not cool with that. So this is going to get very complicated. And keep in mind, Russia has a beautiful naval base just north of Japan on the Pacific coast. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's the same players in all of it. So my big fear is someone's going to miscalculate and torpedo someone, and then it'll be a shit show. Hopefully that is not the case, but it could. So in any case, while we're on that same subject, Russia vows harsh response to unfriendly U.S. and steps up military drills. So at the same time, the Japanese are making their threats on one side. With the Chinese, the Russians are upset because the U.S. is being antagonistic. Right now, there is an entire NATO task force conducting war games in the Black Sea. A week and a half after the Russians zoomed fighter jets right over a British destroyer, a bunch just went back in, and now they're doing whatever game they're doing, and they've pretty much pissed off Russia. So these kind of scenarios will have multiple effects. Situations like this are going to disrupt trade. If something goes to shooting, if it gets hot, you're going to see a disruption of trade, disruptions of products. I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to get into a shooting war of any type. But when you have a lot of aircraft, vehicles, and ships all maneuvering in proximity to one another, there's inevitably, it increases the chance of having an incident of some type that's going to spill over and become worse. So these are two hotspots we really need to pay attention to, the Black Sea as well as Taiwan. I think a lot of us have preached it, but they're still out there. It's still a concern. So make sure, be mindful of this kind of stuff, because it will, even if we're not directly involved, it could disrupt trade. And inevitably, it's going to screw something up for those of us here at the home front who are kind of watching this from afar. Now, obviously, there's nothing individuals like ourselves can do regarding Russia and Japan and China. So again, I'm going to refer back to take care of your personal supply lines, take care of your preparedness, pay attention to what's going on, and when you can, take advantage of bulk purchases or any kind of bulk sales. Save what you don't use. These are unique opportunities to avoid getting caught short because of a shipping disruption somewhere. So on that note, that would be it for the Russia and China stuff. And now will be the last topic, our departure from Afghanistan. So as you may or may not have heard, we are formally out of Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan, which has been the central hub of the United States military in that country. We left at 3 a.m, I guess, to throw off the Taliban, but there's a pile of equipment we left in the country, including, according to this, and this is Afghan military losses. I don't know if it includes whatever we left at Bagram, but over 300 Humvees, 256 Ford Rangers. I don't know why they included that, but 133 trucks, 33 cannons, 23 M117 armored security vehicles, 4 helicopters were destroyed, never mind, 3 anti-aircraft guns, and a couple of tanks. No Abrams tanks. Apparently, we were equipping them with Russian equivalents we were buying on the market. But that's a substantial amount of equipment that was left in Afghanistan for these folks. So the Taliban right now has taken over about 25% of the country, or 25% of what they lost. They're pushing further into the interior. There's reports that the Afghan security forces, some units, have actually went and fled to Tajikistan and went to an adjacent country. They just bugged out, and then they had to be brought back. I don't know if they got shot or arrested, but they took off. They're like, hell no. So apparently we left in the middle of the night, and although the U.S. commander was following orders, apparently no one told the Afghan commander, who was supposed to take over the base, that the U.S. military had left. That may have been done for security reasons, to be honest with you, so that troop movements were secret. They were under the understanding the politicians had told the other politicians who was going where. Long story short, they left in the middle of the night, and they left 5,000 Taliban prisoners in the facility with food and water so that they could, the Afghans could take over the prison facility. They They're making movements in rural areas, but they have left guns. They left tens of thousands of bottles of water, energy drinks, military meals, MREs, as well as hundreds of armored vehicles. So that count I just gave you did not include what was in Bagram, apparently. So there's more equipment there. One comment, one of the opinion pieces I read, they actually said it's time to leave. The British went into Afghanistan, the Russians went in there in the 80s, the British went in during colonial times. We've got, our guys have been there almost 20 years. And the truth of the matter is, if in 20 years we couldn't help them build a nation, we may not be able to, period. It's just time to go. So that was one opinion piece by somebody recently written. Basically said that we're done. I mean, history is repeating itself. So again, you're going to see a lot of our troops coming home, and they're going to come home to a screwed up market and evictions. So if you do see any homebound troops, welcome them home and buy them a coffee, because they deserve it. And right now, the Afghans are still losing equipment. The militants have taken control of a third of the 421 districts in Afghanistan. So they've taken over quite a bit of the country. Afghan security forces have lost, they lost 3 Russian-made Mi-17 helicopters to add to the fun. So what we've done, basically, we left them the equipment needed, but unfortunately, I suspect the Taliban will get their hands on it, and so we've just equipped the Taliban. I don't know what to say to that. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is on that. So a lot of weird movement, a lot of strange behavior, a lot of aggressive moves on the part of some countries that I was not expecting, Japan being the most recent. So, guys, when you see this stuff, there's nothing we as individuals can really do about this. So what you need to do is make sure your personal affairs are squared away. Make sure you have reserve money if you can do so. Make sure you have supplies of food. Check your vehicles. Make sure they're in good shape. Make sure you get your oil changes. You need new tires, whatever needs to be done. If you can do the repairs yourself, more power to you. Do what you can yourself. Reduce the amount of money you have to spend outside of the house, so that if there's a disruption, if there is a hack, if whatever happens, the supply chain gets screwed up more than it already is, you will be in a better position to take the hit, knowing that you've saved up that money, you've gotten your business taken care of. So, folks, that's going to be it for the Tuesday talk show on the topics. Just want to bring some awareness to some of this international stuff that's been going on. Guys, pay attention. Get your stuff up to date. Check your car, fill your tank, whatever little things you have to do. Those of you in the path of the hurricane down in Florida, be safe and take care of yourselves. And to everyone else, Godspeed if you're on the road, and pay attention, be safe, and help someone out if you can. Until next time, I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves.